876 stream.
So yeah, Greg, thanks for your time. I really, really appreciate it. Firstly, the fans back home on the island have been asking, how are you doing and how's life, down south at Ipswich and you in terms of your recovery.
Yeah, no, it's been like obviously started off really, really positive. Nice for the change of scenery. Being in a club like Ipswich with a manager like Kieran McKenna and being at the top of the table has just been a phenomenal experience. You've got a real clear plan going into games and really coming into as the favourites, and that's been massive and a real different for me, but really positive. I really enjoyed that. I think that my injury's going really well. Like I'm ahead of schedule coming back. It was obviously just a really strange injury that happened, but it's really nice to be around such sort of a good environment, and they've done everything they can to get me back faster. So luckily, like I say, I'm ahead of schedule at the moment. Hoping to be back maybe in like 3 weeks' time, back into training, 4 weeks for games. So that's really positive. But yeah, being down south is definitely different. Ipswich itself is probably a little bit, because I lived in Manchester when I was up north, so a little bit of a slower pace of life, but the weather's definitely better down here. But the club as a whole has been a real change, and I've really enjoyed the feel of the club at Ipswich. It's a real family club, but also really trying to do things in the game and trying to get promoted. That's what we want to aim for. So that's a nice challenge and a nice aim for us.
Yeah, just a bit on, well, before we go back up north, at your club you have the likes of Caden Jackson with Jamaican heritage, and of course Cameron Humphreys as well. I'm just curious if you ever had a chance to talk to them about Jamaica or any conversation at all about Jamaica generally speaking.
Yeah, definitely. I spoke with Caden about Jamaica. I spoke with Kyle Edwards as well, and Caden was saying that he was obviously he was speaking to Paul Hall actually just before obviously the change of management. So it's something where I don't know if many people know of his heritage and things like that, but it's something he'd definitely be interested in. Kyle as well. Kyle's come into the side recently and been doing really well. So I've spoke to them both at length about it, about the trips and about the squad as a whole. It's something they definitely both said they were interested in doing and coming and being part of.
Mm-hmm. All right. And in terms of, your family, not that people know this, could you confirm the former Athletics Association president of Jamaica, Warren Blake, is he part of your family?
Yeah, he's my uncle. Yeah.
Well, a small world, I tell you. It's like in Jamaica, everyone's related to you,
Proper, yeah, for sure.
Nice.
The same spots and with the same names.
Nice, yeah. So, like you said, you're raised in Manchester, born in Sale. Would you say growing up you were a City fan, a United fan, Rochdale, Bury, Wigan?
I was a United fan growing up, but I actually played for Man City for like 10, 11 years. So I kept that very quiet probably until about now. But yeah, it was definitely a split sort of thing, because I was actually at United when I was younger. I was trialing at both. But City were the team that kind of I saw my development being better there, even at a young age. I was there when I was like 9, 10. But yeah, I kept it quiet. But now it was definitely something I just kept quiet for quite a few years.
Yeah, and in terms of the experience that you had at City, how would you say it sort of grown and developed? Because you were there like before the ownership from the Far East, and with the ownership of the Far East, how would you say the club has grown and developed, from the time that you were there?
It was really interesting. I feel like you saw the change and how the money sort of was drip fed in, and then eventually it kind of blew up, so to speak, like towards the back end of things. So towards, like, I'd say probably my latter years, you'd often it started off just a little bit like better here and there for, I don't know, facilities, equipment. You started moving to bigger places, and then you'd start to see sort of the introduction of foreign players into the sides, maybe about 15, 16. A lot of players that have gone on to have very good careers as well, like not at City, but at different places. So, yeah, like, I remember back in the day, like when we were under 15s, Adrian Rabiot was with us. And then obviously people like Jason Denayer, who'd come in the fold, Marcus Lopez, Dennis Suarez, all these sort of Kareem Rekik, all these players, Boyata, all these people who came through and sort of you played with them through the system. And I think that when they started really trying to recruit and bring in the foreign players, it just became more and more difficult probably for the English players to get in. But at the same time, I think when they were still going through that development stage before Pep, you had a chance to train and be around the best managers. I worked under Patrick Vieira, which was really good. And I don't think without the money and the facilities and all that, whether he would have been as attracted to come and manage his football there. So the experience you get from it was good. It was just more difficult to even be closer to the first team. And I know it's even more difficult now. So it was like had its good positives and negatives, you know. But overall, like it was a very interesting project to see develop.
In terms of the time that you had there developing from that academy days to the senior program, did you have that chance to mingle or be around Pellegrini when he was in charge?
Yeah, that was the manager who took me. So I had a post-season tour and a pre-season tour when I was with the first team, and he was the manager who took me there, which was good, man. It was good, a very good experience. Yeah, for sure.
Nice. And of course, we know about the loan spells that you had at Crewe and, went to Bradford later on, but you did something not a lot of players, in England do, and that was go abroad. So what was that experience like going over to Holland to play a bit of football?
I was really eye-opening. I think for first of all, for I don't know, for like a lifestyle, because when you go over, you learn a lot through sort of learn a lot about life, but also for the football, and it definitely taught me a lot. It was something I'd never really considered, and then when the opportunity came, I was kind of just happy to sort of grab at it and see how it was going to go. I think playing football on the continent taught me a lot, made me develop in certain areas that perhaps I was not lacking in, but definitely could have used improvement, and that helped me develop because there was all football, like total football there. So that was really interesting to see, and some of the players there as well. We were in the league watching them, and you'd see them how a lot of them now come into to England to play because they've got real quality. I found in the Dutch league, but yeah, it was definitely a very interesting experience, and it was actually sad I only did 1 year. I wish I could have done a bit longer, but it just didn't quite work out for myself.
A lot of reggae boys such as yourself talk about some times that they've had in Scotland, like Kamar Roof and others. The first thing they mention is the cold, but I can sure the crowd support something that was a bit passionate in Scotland as well. Fans.
Yeah, the fans are very, very passionate and very crazy, especially Chems fans. The fans at Rangers are crazy. Like, I think that when anyone goes up to Scotland, if you're not going to Celtic or Rangers, when you're going to play against those sides, when you're playing at Parkhead and you're playing at Ibrox, like the sound, like the crowd noise is something that is just unbelievable. And obviously, Ken playing in front of that crowd every week is just something that's amazing. But yeah, I think that even playing at a place like Aberdeen, you took 24,000 a week, and that was a different experience for me, because I think that we were playing that much in Holland, and well, probably not as much as that in Holland, but I think that the fans are very passionate in Scotland, and also I feel like it's their Premier League, so for them it's everything, and you get a good feel around the place when in big games and things like that. I enjoyed Scotland a lot, actually. I did.
Nice. Yeah, in that time frame, you got the privilege of representing Jamaica. I just wanted to know, when you got that first call up for the Saudi Arabia games, was it a text message? Was it a phone call, an email? How did that call up come about?
It was an email, because I think the first game got cancelled because of COVID. It was against Catalonia. Right. And remember, I got the email because I was not sure whether my passport would come through, things like that. And I remember I knew the game was coming up, so I was just refreshing my email, refreshing it, see if anything came through. And yeah, when I finally got the call, I was so excited, man. I couldn't wait. I could not wait to get there. It was a proud moment.
Yeah, and of course, having yourself in the squad and Ravel, Daniel Johnson, that second game in particular against Saudi Arabia, you saw how we played, and you could see that something was building. You know what I mean? That second game that we won.
Oh, 1,000,000%. I think we even, because Leon was saying in the changing room, when after the game, that was on a real togetherness, and I think that he mentioned it again. I think it was when we went for the third, I think the final qualifiers for the World Cup. So it was when we played Costa Rica, and El Salvador, I think, was the games. And Leon was saying the togetherness we felt during the Saudi Arabia game is something we needed to go back to, because that was the first time we really felt I think we actually ended up conceding as well first in that game, and it was just something where we're we're going to go out there, we're going to play, show what we can do, and we had that real belief and togetherness as a squad. Yeah, that feeling and coming back off that trip, man, that was a real feeling, man. That was yeah, and it did feel like the start of something, and it's been nice to sort of carry that on in parts, yeah.
Yeah, and as you know, I can say, amongst fans on the island, after those two games, everyone was saying, "Where's Greg Leigh? Where's Greg Leigh?" Until that game against America at home, where we had fans back for the first time since COVID.
Yeah.
So would you say, can you say that it definitely was injury why you weren't in that frame for a little over a year, basically?
Yeah, I literally. So I'm trying to think. I came back from being away. I came back from being away, and I got injured in the December. So I think the trip was in the November. I got injured in the December, and then very badly injured in the February, like early Feb. It literally took me out until the Gold Cup, and then in the Gold Cup I was like just fit, but I think the manager had sort of said, you haven't played any games or done any training. Like I was desperate to go, but they were like, it's probably safer for yourself, and I was like, fair. Like I probably wouldn't have been much use anyway with not being match fit or even ready to play without injury. So, and then I actually got injured again, I think in the September. And obviously these injuries was like quite unlucky. They were very strange. So I think that from then on, I kind of haven't really had anything for the whole year. And then I think obviously the other injury was just another one that was very random. But I'm hoping if I can put this one behind me, that'll be me. I can kick right on, because at the moment I'm still feeling good, even though obviously just with sort of innocuous kind of injury, it's nice to put that behind me and then try and kick on from November, hopefully to the end of the season.
Yeah, and in terms of like right now, has the Ipswich medical staff given you a timeline as yet when you can get back on the pitch for training or anything like that?
Yeah. So I have another week where I have just a brace on just to protect my knee or my leg. So once that's sort of complete, I can I'll probably have 2 weeks just building up to like running and things like that, and outside of training, and then straight back in. So probably 3 weeks to training, I think it looks like, yeah, and then 4 weeks to playing. So it's a decent time. I think I can work with. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and as you know, the World Cup is in another month from now, but it's only the Premier League and the Championship that will go on break. Is that right? And everybody else.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll continue playing games in the meantime. I think we have FA Cup fixtures as well while the World Cup's going on. Which, to be fair, it's one of them. It's like, the break would have been nice, but at the same time, it's also good to, like, our team's like doing well. We're at the top, or second in the league now. It's good to sort of carry on and keep the momentum going. You don't necessarily want breaks all the time when your team's doing well. And for me, it's good because, the moment I get right back into it, I can get involved again. So I'm not too sad about the lack of break, although I am looking forward to watching the games of the World Cup. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and when you're bearing in mind, that rhythm to get back into to match sharpness with the Nations League next year and also the Gold Cup as well, it puts you in good stead, going into the big calendar of games next year.
Yeah, definitely. It was something I was disappointed in with regards to obviously when I got injured. The timing was obviously bad, especially with a new coach and new management staff coming in. And I think that my obviously aim now is just to stay fit, get as much minutes under my belt as I can. And then obviously looking forward to the games obviously in March, and then into the summer. So hopefully I can stay fit and play some part in that. That would be great.
Yeah, and that game that we had last month against Argentina, did you have a chance to watch it or just the highlights and bits?
I just watched the highlights. I didn't have a chance to watch it. I had training the next day, and it was 1 a.m. our time, I think. So it was a little bit too late because I had to get in for, I think, either physio. I think it was. But yeah, I saw the highlights, to be fair, and some people had some good games, man. It was a good watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as you know, it's basically a new gaffer in charge, but I'm sure you know the pedigree that he brings as well, especially from the time he had with Iceland, beating England and qualifying for the World Cup and everything like that.
Yeah, for sure. He has a good record, and I think that someone coming in with that kind of, like you say, that degree of professionalism and a degree of how he's going to go about sort of winning games, making us a stronger team. I think it brings a lot, and it's something that a lot as players you want to be involved in. He looks like he's here to create a project, and that's something that I'm definitely interested in. Yeah, for sure.
Greg, a lot of people might look at League One in a different light compared to the Championship and the Premier League. But when you look at the league, you have yourself, Uncle Maps is back in England. You know what I'm saying?
Uncle Maps back doing his thing as well. They won. I think they won at the weekend. It's good to see.
Yeah, he's back in the mix. You have Darren Moore, a former Jamaican international head coach of Sheffield Wednesday. Jamil
Mm.
Mattis banging goals at Forest Green Rovers. So it's great to see that you have Jamaicans in and around, the top three divisions.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think the one thing that's misconstrued about League One is there's big teams in there. And like I said, a lot of talent, come through there. You know that and Mikel spent time in League One. Andre was like so many people have spent time in League One, but also the caliber of teams. Like the top. I'm trying to think the top six. You've got like your Sheffield Wednesday Championship side, Bolton used to be Championship side, Peterborough just come down Championship side, Portsmouth again, big clubs. And obviously ourselves, Ipswich, like there's teams that with huge followings and huge fan bases just probably mismanaged and probably are championship sides and obviously everyone vying to get back up is probably more competitive at times, but like I said, the aim is championship. And for me anyway, being in a team that's trying to get there and up there, challenging to be in the champ, that's it shows as well like how competitive the leagues are. But also it is like you say, it's nice to see the Jamaicans doing well, man.
Yeah.
Seen him. It's your boy Exeter, isn't it? Giovanni Brown. He's doing his thing, man. He's got some serious goals this year. I was watching him, man. He's doing well.
Yeah, definitely. Johnson Clark Harris, Peterborough, he's
killing it. He's killing it.
Yeah, massive. And then when you look at the Premier as well, you Bobby Reid doing his bits as well, and Tony
doing so well. Bobby doing very well. Yeah. It's nice to see, man. Especially because a lot of these players, like obviously them in and out, like with regards to watching the Prem and things like that, and then them just maybe from friends of friends. But when you've been away and you see you've been with a group, you got that real feeling of like pride and happiness and proud of them when they do well. You know what I mean? And it's just it's nice to see, man, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, you had the chance to play with Leon Bailey as well. This is his second season at Aston Villa, and he's had a lot of different changes around him, players, management, but he's grafting every day, and slowly but surely getting the rewards.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's nice to see, because I think that coming to a different league is always difficult. There's a lot to get used to, and especially the Premier League is like unforgiving. So to see how Leon sort of starting to settle himself, goals, assists, really settling into the team and doing what he does best. And I think he's starting to really enjoy it. He's starting to see that just in what you see on his social media and how interactive he is with sort of the fans of the club. And that's man, it's just it's a difficult thing, but he seems to be really finding his feet. It's nice.
Yeah. And I mean, you're now at Ipswich. It's a 2-year deal, and the club is flying, and everything. I was just curious, those times that you were abroad in Scotland and obviously in Holland, did ever an opportunity come your way to perhaps go to America or go to the Far East in Asia? Any opportunity came your way like that?
A little bit, yeah. I had a couple conversations with teams in America. And to be fair, I haven't. Well, there was a couple of things in Australia, but I didn't actually pursue them, so to speak. I think for me, I did have a dream of trying to reach the championship. I think that when you kind of have that in your mind, you're like, right, well, let me tick off the milestones, especially while I'm my age that I am. Like, I believe I can get there. So, and I believe that once I do that, hopefully I can look onto different things. Maybe my priorities will change, I'm not sure, but the championship for me, I really see it as something that I want to achieve and want to get there. So I feel like the moves to Scotland, they were really, I think, to further my career, and they did, and I really enjoyed it. Same with Holland, and I think that you set your new goals. You go, right, this is what I want to do next, and but once I get that, who knows?
Is it true that when you were in the academy at City that you were a striker or a winger?
Yeah, I was. I think pretty much everyone started off as a striker, from what I'm hearing. Not a lot of people. Yeah, I was a striker and then a left winger, and then I think I just filled in centre half for a few games. Wow. And the coach was like, "All right, like okay, And then I think left back was a good medium for me. Some attacking, some defending. So I think that a lot of fullbacks start off as failed wingers, if I'm honest. But I wouldn't say failed, but left back, I'm happy there.
Yeah, it was meant to be. But yeah, I mean, when you look at Jamaica now with left backs, I mean, yourself, Amar Bell, Taxi, real competition, but I'm sure, the way that you had to start off at City with the competition for places, I'm sure you'd be prepared for the challenge at hand with Taxi and Amar, yourself, Jaden Brown at Sheffield knocking on the door. I'm sure you're ready for the challenge.
Yeah, for sure. You know what it is? I think that I think when there's competition for places, it breeds the quality in everybody. You know, at the end of the day, we're a squad, a team. Like the team play, but the squad is there. And ultimately, I think when you've got competition for places, like you do pretty much in most positions for the Reggae Boys, like I think it's only going to make the team better. And the main aim of the team is to be successful. You know, to go to competitions and to try and do as well as you can in them. And that only comes with having a competitive squad, you know.
Yeah, and you see somebody like Maps who's in his late 30s. Is that a bit of motivation for you that, he can still play at a high level at his age and still put in consistent performances? Is that like a motivation for you as well?
I'd say so, yeah, for sure. I mean, Maps is again someone who's like last year. He just went, all right, he's gonna go do it in another country as well. And I think it's not only just obviously his footballing ability and knowing, okay, like he's managed to stay in the game for this long and be that professional for that long and really have a career that you look and you're in awe of, really. But also this type of person he is, that's something that you kind of aspire to be as well. So yeah, he's got a lot of attributes on and off the pitch where you think, okay, that's what you'd want to embody and want to try and emulate, as a player, like you say, on and off the pitch.
Yeah, Greg, and when you look at the quality that we have in the squad with the national team as well, would you say that perhaps challenging for the Gold Cup title is something that should be on our radar, bearing in mind the talent at our disposal?
Yeah, I think I would say so. I think that when you look at some of the, especially some of the World Cup qualifying games, you look at like how close we were to beating these sides and to challenge. I don't think there was many games where you look and say we weren't in the game at all and we couldn't have come away with the points. Especially even in the last time in the Gold Cup losing to winners. Like I think it's something we should definitely aspire to do well and to win the competition. Especially with the quality we have, there's no reason why not. And I think we've just come up a little bit short. But if we can get ourselves together, there's absolutely nothing to say we can't.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of, the experiences that you've had so far, representing Jamaica, it might not be a lot of appearances, but I'm sure you've relished every moment, every minute that you've played for Jamaica.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's just, yeah, any minute I got on a pitch, it meant a lot. And I think that, for me, I think that when I went out there the first couple of times, it was just to be in part of it was massive. And then when you do get your chance, all you want to do is just take it and do as well as possible. And I think, yeah, for me, it was just an honor every time, and I think, yeah, I just think it was a big deal. And the main thing I wanted to do is do as well as possible, and I think that contributing to the team, every time I've been on the field, I've really, really enjoyed, and I just want to do that and do it more. And yeah, it's a good feeling, but also being part of the side, like I say, when there's togetherness like that, it really makes you, it gives you that motivation to achieve something as a team, and that's what we want to do. And being part of it's just massive.
Yeah, Greg. I mean, you're raised in Manchester, the second reggae boy after Paul Hall, who was born in Manchester to play for the Reggae Boyz. You can say better than anyone that you, when you go in Manchester, there's a massive Jamaican community within Shaw, alongside, Moss Side, all over. So you just know for a fact that the talent at our disposal, especially in Manchester, is massive in terms of the Jamaican community and also players that are growing as well and developing in that area.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. I mean, a lot of the players, and it's a positive thing that you have such a widespread network of teams as well, because you have a lot of the players who are getting picked up, getting the opportunities, and I think that's the main thing. I think that when you really think about the players who've come through in the last sort of couple of years, they've all found themselves in professional football, and I think that's kind of it makes a big difference, because when you're talking about coming into an environment like the Reggae Boyz, when you've been playing at the championship level, I think that we all find it when you've been playing at the championship level, the Prem level, coming into the games, it really helps, because you're up to speed, or you're improving the whole time, and you're learning a lot. So the more that you do it, the more you go, it's definitely something that you really you can really improve with. So with regards to the boys that are coming up through it, you've still got the people like Maps around it, and you can come into the environment, learn off people like him, and then obviously go back, use it yourself, and just start to improve as a player. But when you've got as much of the talent pool to pick from, with all like, you're only going to get like the best players, and that's what I'm saying. It's competitive, but at the same time, it breeds such a quality in the squad So yeah, having a bigger pool was always a positive for sure.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of, the time that you had playing in Manchester, trial at United and actually being at City, do you still keep contact with anyone that you used to play with, or perhaps the backroom staff or anything like that? Do you still keep in contact with anyone from either club?
I do, to be fair. So obviously I played with Devante. I played with Devante twice. I played with Devante Cole at City, and then I played with him at not Barnsley, at Bradford. He's at Barnsley now, and I still chat with him. George Evans, he's at Millwall now. Jordi Harula, he's up north. He's in Scotland at the moment, Ross County. But yeah, quite a few of the boys, to be fair, because we had quite a good group at City, even though it was a little bit. With a lot of the foreign boys coming in, we got a little bit split. It was still nice to keep in contact with a lot of the boys that were there at the time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, as you said, earlier that, not many players that were born in England got opportunities in the first team back then. I was just curious, that one player that had his chance, Michael Johnson, did you ever get a chance to train with him during your time at City, or he's a bit older than you?
Michael Johnson. He was a little bit older, but by the time I trained with him, he kind of let himself go, if I'm honest. So he kind of got his big break and he did really well, but then he kind of lost. I think he lost all his motivation. So I actually didn't but I got a chance to train with Nader Manua, Michael Richards, people like that, and obviously a lot of the first teamers when we were there. But from the young boys, mostly Nader and Meeks, which was good. That's a good experience because you almost see, okay, this is what you can achieve if you get the opportunity. So you have to just keep going and hope you get the opportunity.
Yeah. And in terms of that, new ownership group, did they have a chance to mingle with you, or perhaps the academy lads as well, just to get to know you guys and just invite you to functions and stuff like that?
Back with the first team?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To be fair, a lot of them were quite welcoming. Like a lot of, especially some of the English lads. Like I remember Harty was good. I still chat to Les Scott, to be fair. Julian, I still chat with him, which is really good. And De Jong was good and Meeks were good. So it was like quite a good core group that would be quite inviting. I know a few of the other boys. Jordy was quite close with Colo Torre at the time. Evo was quite close with Lampard, and Lampard actually took him to Derby when he got the opportunity. So it actually worked out pretty well for Evo in that respect. But yeah, I think some of the first team boys were very welcoming, and it was a good environment when I was there. Obviously, I have no idea how it is now or how it differs, but it was. I think that being in a first team environment, sort of regardless of where it is a big help.
Yeah. And finally, Greg, because this has been brilliant. How did you hide for over a decade? That you were actually a red in a blue shirt.
Honestly, I just kept it very quiet. I actually got tickets to like some Derby games and just kind of kept myself to myself. You know what I mean? Because it was a bit reckless back then.
Yeah.
We didn't tell nobody. There's a few of us, by the way, just me. But yeah, we didn't tell anybody.
Yeah. Have you sat in the Stretford end? Oh man, that's
to be fair, yeah. But like, I ain't telling no one from City like you.
Yeah.
But I know you like a red as well, innit? So
yeah,
you know what I mean? A bit of you.
Bouncing, yeah. It's massive, yeah. It's like every 5 minutes you're jumping and singing and stuff. Yeah,
it's good, man. It's good.
It's class. Yeah, Manchester's great, man. Always wonderful. But look, Greg, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for talking to me. All the best in terms of the recovery from injury, and we'll be in touch. If I'm down south in England, I'll definitely hit you up.
Yeah, for sure, man. Let me know.